Senator Sterle.
Thank you, Mr Deputy President, and I wish to make a contribution to report number 5, Rural and Regional Affairs and Transport Legislation Committee Shipping Legislation Amendment Bill 2015 Provisions Dissenting Report from Opposition Senators. So thank you, Mr Deputy President. Mr Deputy President, as the Deputy Chair of the committee, I wish to report to the Senate that we held a legislative hearing here in Canberra on the 7th of September, a Monday afternoon here, and we had a number of witnesses. But what came out of this inquiry, it is absolutely frightening, and I think, Mr Deputy President, I've just sat through, as you have too, general business talking about the loss of Australian jobs. But what we have here is it will be the loss of an Australian industry. And all those Australians out there need to be very, very aware what the government is trying to do with this legislation. To put it in a nutshell, Mr Deputy President, this is no brainer, this one, but we are an island nation, and I believe we have the 4th largest shipping task in the world. But through the intelligence of this government being led by Mr Truss, and I know that's an oxymoron, putting those two words together, but this bill proposes, Mr Deputy President, to do away, exterminate, get rid of the Australian shipping industry. Now, those out there listening might think, what has this bloke been on at lunchtime? I'm not making this up. This is absolutely frightening what they want to do, to the point where they want to get rid of Australian-flagged ships, and they clearly want to get rid of Australian seafaring jobs. Now, also, Mr Deputy President, we have it well known that there is a lot of coastal shipping that moves between the states, between the capital cities, and no more reliant than our friends and colleagues down in Tasmania, because, lo and behold, they're also an island like we are. They don't have a highway running between the top end of Tassie and Melbourne where we can truck it all across. But what really highlighted the problems with this bill was that one of the witnesses, a Mr Bill Milby. Now, Mr Bill Milby heads up North Star Cruises. Now, North Star Cruises are on the top end of that great half of Australia, the western side, and they run the Northern Star. I think it's called the Northern Star ship out of Broome. It's crewed with all Australians. I tell a lie, there might be one Kiwi on there, but they're all young Aussies, captained by a very, very experienced Australian captain. And they run tours and cruises between Broome and Darwin and back, and all that beautiful part in between. Mr Milby attended a function or a seminar or something that was being attended by the Minister, Minister Truss, and also by his officers from the department, and the department being the Department of Infrastructure and Regional Development. Now, Mr Milby raised concerns, saying, and he said to them, not to the minister but to his officials, but if we're going to get rid of Australian jobs and Australian ships and allow foreign seafarers coming in and foreign flagged vessels, how the heck can I compete? How can I keep my 52, I think it was the figure, employees employed, all Australians bar maybe one Kiwi, who predominantly live in Western Australia, down the south, but head up to Broome, and there are a number of people who live in Broome, but work the dry season tours. He was told by, and this came out of the department, by an official, Miss Judy Zalke. Now, Miss Judy Zalke and I are no strangers to each other, Mr Deputy President, on a number of reasons, as particularly through Senate estimates and this inquiry. She's the Executive Director of Surface Transport Policy, and ably backed up, Mr Milby told us, by Mr Michael Sutton, the General Manager of Maritime and Shipping Branch. They didn't deny it. They tried to do the Weasley little bit about we didn't really say the words that might have been reported in the paper, but they did. In the end, this is what came out. When Mr Milby said, how do I compete? What do I do? He was told by these officials, deregister your Australian vessel, go offshore, get a foreign flag, and get rid of your Australian crew. Employ foreign seamen, employ foreign seafarers. Now, that's just one tiny little bit. So, as part of the inquiry, we actually got it on record from the department. The government itself clearly said that over 1,000 seafaring jobs will be gone. No Australians. And it raises a number of issues. One is the environmental problems that may come because of the Great Barrier Reef. We've had a couple of instances where foreign vessels have tried to take a shortcut across the reef. We know that happens. But one of the biggest issues for me, apart from us, or not us, crikey, it's not us, that mob over there saying we're glad to get rid of the Australian shipping industry, is national security. Now, Mr Deputy President, you and I, my colleagues on this side of the chamber and on that other house over there on the opposition benches, have had to listen to the national security beat-up at certain times coming from the former Prime Minister and ably backed up by every senator in this place, every minister, the whole lot of them. Sometimes it was warranted, but by crikey, they were really pulling out the dog whistle. To actually think that we have Australian vessels that were carting fuel between our cities, between our refineries, from Brisbane down to Melbourne and wherever, that we are prepared to not have a clue, not have any Australians, just foreign seafarers, and we think this is a good idea as a nation? Do we honestly believe that it's a brilliant idea to say to the Australian shipping industry, go away, get lost, all in the name of we've got to deliver, I don't know, cheaper freight rates for maybe the cement industry, or maybe some of the miners, and let me tell you, I'm supportive of the mining industry, but they do give me the screaming abdabs when they go out there and start screaming how they want to be more productive. And what it means is just turning over more for their shareholders, but they're happy to do away with Australian jobs. But not only that, Mr Deputy President, we talk about training, and our master captains and masters and our captains. These are not degrees that are obtained. You have a listen over there. You don't find them in a Wheatie box. You actually got to have years and years of experience. You've actually got to be out there and know what you're doing. And you don't go to a pastel-coloured classroom in some TAFE for 3 weeks and say, look, I've got a couple $100 to spare, I think I'd want to be a master. We are going to kill off every opportunity that we have created for this island nation to be able to sustain ourselves and employ our own ships, running in and out of our ports, so we eliminate a lot of the problems. And some people out there, Mr Deputy President, may think I'm being racist, or what do they pull out all this nonsense, xenophobic? Well, let me tell you, I knew it was one of the phobics. Let me tell you, call it what you like, but I will stand up for Australian jobs. Now, in America, the United States of America, that great freedom, that aircraft carrier of freedom floating between the Pacific and the Atlantic Oceans, not even them would do that, because they have, Mr Deputy President, through you, the Jones Act. And let me tell you what the Jones Act is. The Jones Act says very clearly for national security that all shipping between their ports is done by American, United States vessels, flagged, and United States crews. So I'm really dying to listen to the argument coming from that side. Just one of them, one of you out there in fairyland, I'm pleading with you, come and give me all the reasons in the world why you think it is a fantastic achievement to get, I was going to say sink, it's probably not the right word I'm thinking of, to get rid of an Australian industry that we are so reliant upon, because we may have a couple of industries being mining or cement, and I can't think of fertiliser or there's something else, who don't even own any ships, but they just want to make a few more bucks. Are we prepared to watch over 1,000 jobs go? And I just want to break up. I asked the MUA, so if anyone wants to jump up and down, the reason why I asked the MUA is because they know where all the seamen are, all the seafarers. And I said, give us a quick breakdown. And they've told me very quickly, and I don't have a lot of time, but I'm going to go through it, Mr Deputy President, so they can try and come and challenge me or whatever they want to do. The Bass Strait, 382 Australian jobs will go. This is the government's figures, okay, as well. They've said over 1,000. They're not disputing it. LNG, in my fantastic part of the world, and of course Queensland and Victoria, 176 jobs. In petroleum and gas trade, 72 jobs. Dry bulk trade, no less than 226 seafaring jobs, mainly in the eastern states in Victoria and New South Wales. Bauxite alumina trade, 136, mainly in Queensland and New South Wales. The Northern Territory, servicing remote Aboriginal communities and other communities, 302. Cruise shipping, 17 operators, and I talked about Broome and Top End, approximately 150, and we know what states they're from, and also approximately 500 from Carpentaria Management Services, Paspalli, Purley, Port of Brisbane, Ships Guardline, P&O Maritime Services, mainly in the Northern Territory and Queensland. The MBA have actually come back and said it's close to 1,980. So, Mr Deputy President, in my last 12 seconds in here, I extend that invitation once again. Can someone please come, challenge me, take me on, show me where I've got it wrong? Because if you vote for this, I'll make sure every Australian seafarer gets your name from my mail.
Senator, your time has expired.